So 1999 Hyundai Sonata, right hand drive Australian version. This is a GLE Classique, and power window doesn't go down, doesn't go up. The winder is stuffed. I've already pulled the door trim off. I'll show you how to get that off later on, but I'll show you how to change the window drive mechanism and regulator. Let's get into it. Righto, when you're pulling this door apart, that clips out. Like so. Put that somewhere safe. This pops out. You've got two plugs to undo, and you've got screws there. You've got a plug down there. You've got a screw there and a screw there, and then 1 and 2 screws. And I'll show you how to pull the trim off in a second. So this has to fold up and back like so, and that's how you pull the trim off. Easy peasy. Pull that off. Pull that off. You've got to squeeze these as you pull them down, and you may need to use a flat blade screwdriver just to lever that off like that. Okay, there's a screw in there that's got to come out before you can access this bottom screw down here. One trick I use is I try and leave screws in the item that they came from, so that when I put the car back together, there's a lot less thought that has to go into which screws go where. Now you can tear this dust seal to get access to everything behind it, but why would you if you can preserve it? So I'm going to try and preserve it. And my favourite socket, 10mm, pulls most cars apart, particularly Subarus, if you happen to own one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this off. This is horrible stuff, this black tarry crap, dust seal, whatever. Beautiful. So basically what we want to do is we've got to undo this one, this one, this one, and this one, and 1, 2, and 3, and then we can pull our window mechanism out. There's quite a bit of torque on these. Now if you don't have a rattle gun, don't panic. You just need a bit more horsepower than I was using with a cordless drill. Just do it by hand. Beautiful. Now pull the plug off. Again, screwdriver is handy here. Just lever that off it pops. Now what we do want to do is we want to drop this window a little bit so that I can actually release the clamp, which I'll see if I can show you. The clamps are here on the window glass, and I can probably access this one without having to take the glass without having to drop the window. Righto, so I've temporarily plugged the switch back in. Oh, this comes down a little bit, and now you can see, turn the car off, you can see the second second bolt down here that holds the window frame in. So let's take that one off. So there's a great saying that experience is something you get just after you need it. Oh, come on. Oh yeah, a little bit tight, but not too bad. So now now that the glass is free, I can pull that up, out of the way, put my little suction cups back on. Now one thing I've got, because you don't want the glass, once you release the glass, you don't want it to slide down, so I've got some suction hooks. You can use anything you like, and I'm just going to put these on the back of the glass, just so I don't lose the glass. Now pull that out and keep going. Hand up behind. Now you notice I only loosened these screws, I didn't take them all the way off. Just folds up and out, and there you go, one window mechanism. And you can see with this one that the only problem really is that the cable has jumped off the nylon runner. So I do know that this one works, but it just was not reliable, and you can see that the cable is actually bound and caught into this drum. So, and you can see, probably see that it's all twisted and basically it's knackered. So let's go and get ourselves a brand new window winder regulator mechanism. Righto, so what do you get? You basically get the entire window regulator mechanism in this fine box here, which is perfect, and for 58 bucks, it's a bargain. Okay, the plastic off and feed this thing in. So you kind of need to pay attention as to which way this went in the first place. So you know that it actually sits like this in the door frame. So fold it in on itself and then spin the cable around. So fold it in, spin the cable. And the other thing that you'll notice is that this actually comes with plastic caps on the screw threads. They may not all come like this, but this one did. So I'm just going to screw those off before I try and put it in, because they'll be a pain in the butt to get off when it's inside the vehicle. Did you know that this car has the same engine as a Mitsubishi Evo? So what does an Evo put out? 220 to 280 kilowatts, something like this. This puppy has 103 kilowatts of roaring kilowasps. And so it's normally aspirated, but this twin cam 16 valve, and you can imagine what a monster this car would be front wheel drive with even 220 kilowatts, more than 100% increase in power. Alright, stop flapping, all working. Now I'll just show you something. Inside the car there is this is a stiffening crash barrier that Australian cars have to have for compliance, and you just have to be careful when you're putting this thing in that you work around that stiffening part of the door. There we go. So just take your time. There we go, it's in. Now as I said, we have to get this in and we have to spin it around. So in fact maybe it's easier to feed it in this way first, because that's the way it's going to end up going in the car. I assure you it does go in. It just takes a bit of fart assing around. Just like that. Okay, rotate this around, and you need to align the three threads on the back of this motor, because that sits like that in the door. So that's how this contraption sits. So what I'm feeling for is, and I'm using this little porthole here as access so I can actually see what I'm doing. Alright, success. Now I'm just going to put some threads on just to hold those in place. No, not like that. Now I never do anything uptight until the job is done. So at this stage we've got the drive and the regulator in, and now what we need to do is, as I'll show you what this is looking like inside the door frame. It's a bit of a mess, so, or it's not in the right position I should say. So this has to be pulled backwards, and those two bolts have to poke through these two holes. And there are two bolts up similarly that have to go through these two holes. So I'll just mount the camera again and we'll get that happening. Okay, and there we have it. As Mark Mitchell would say, beautiful! Beautiful! Now I think what I'm going to have to do is, because the glass is in a different position to the basically the holding frame, I'm going to have to power the door the window up and drop it down to this lowest position down here. Drop it to down here so that I can re-secure the bolts that hold it onto the window frame. Okay, get our trusty 10mm. It's going to start to screw these in. And when you're ordering one of these, make sure that you get the right one. Driver's side, front, passenger side, front, driver's side, rear, passenger side, rear, blah blah blah. Now these have little blue dots on them, which means they would have had, at one stage they would have had thread locker on them, but again, not going to worry about that. So I'm not going to do this too tight, they're just nipped up. Now I am going to put the power back on here. There we go. Beautiful. Power up the window. Now we've got power into the thing. Okay, it doesn't like me because the door's open and the power's on, but that is okay. So I'm just going to drive the mechanism down. Okay, so I'll just show you. Beautiful. So now I can release my two catches here, slide the door down by hand and put in the two locking bolts. Righto, so I'm gripping the window. Number one comes off. Number two comes off. Down she comes. Great. And it's not quite lining up, but I'll make it line up. And at least it's very close. There we go. Beautiful. I actually think I need to loosen this one off and align this one. And who's up for a test? Now the thing I hate about this car is it's got a bloody immobiliser, so every time you want to get power on, you've got to disable the immobiliser. I mean, a bit ridiculous. Okay, so I'm just going to do a dry run. Woohoo! And that is a window replacement. Okay, now I'm just going to do all these screws up a bit tighter and replace all the trim, and we're in action. Now, because these ones were originally really tight, I'm going to rattle these up. So you've got 3 leads that poke through here. You've got the window, you've got the mirror, and you've got the speaker wire. And 1 speaker. So if you want to know what Hyundai speakers look like, this is what they look like. They're not a twin cone. They are a 20 watt nominal, 40 watt maximum, 96330-38700. Now you don't actually need to remove this speaker to do this job, but I didn't know that at the time. Now when you're putting this back together, this thread has to be at the rear, and this little holder for the armrest has to form a cup, so it has to face up. I initially put it in the wrong way. So this is how it looks. Beautiful. And this has to fold down over the top of the frame. Now all of these, this one is a plug down at the bottom of the door, but the rest of these are line up screw threads. So when you're putting this back in, you just have to line up this bottom one down here that I've got my finger on, and once that's lined up, the rest will pop in. Just like that. And same as this bottom one down here. There we go. Now put these screws in and we're done. Now these ones are a bit of a pain to get in and out because you need an angled screwdriver. Pull that lever out, pop that back in, and remember that this top one it's got a fine machine thread on it, it's not a screw. This folds in at the front like that, and then clips, and then there's a screw that goes in the top there, it's done. Righto, got the engine running, a bit more voltage, full speed demo. Oh, it's auto, not auto up, but it is auto down. Beautiful, done.